A prisoner with Scottsbluff ties who escaped from an NDOC facility last month has been captured. KNEB.TV News starts right now.
From your trusted source for news in western Nebraska and eastern Wyoming, this is KNEB.TV News. Presented by Platte Valley Companies, premier provider of financial services.
Hello, I'm Ryan Murphy. This is KNEB.TV News, powered by Platte Valley Companies. Thanks for joining me. In our top story, authorities say a missing Nebraska prison inmate was found yesterday afternoon back in the county where he had been convicted of several felony charges. Scottsbluff Police Sergeant Chris Brass says 45-year-old John Narrison, formerly of Scottsbluff, was taken into custody shortly after 3:45. Brass says officers were called to 1710 Portal Place about an unauthorized man staying in an abandoned trailer and discovered Narrison, who had walked away from the Community Corrections Center in Lincoln on February 24th. Narrison began serving a sentence of 8 to 12 years for convictions that included assault on an officer using a motor vehicle, use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony, and driving under the influence, 5th offense, earlier this year. Brass says Narrison was lodged into the Scottsbluff County Detention Center without further incident. Well, Nebraska lawmakers continue working their way through the three bills making up adjustments to the biennial budget, with debate on the first two bills taking up 8 hours each. During yesterday's debate on the second of the two measures, a few Omaha senators complained most of the funding transfers that favor rural projects over those in urban areas. In response, Appropriations Chair John Stinner of Gering said that was not the case when looking at the overall spending plan.
It's all hooked to recovering from COVID and bridging gaps. And if rural Nebraska doesn't mean anything to you, you better look at the statistics, because all we have is a depopulation of rural Nebraska. Until we do something as a legislature, until we understand our duty to the safety and well-being of the people of Nebraska, we're failures.
Stinner noted that much of the ARPA spending that will be considered later will favor urban areas due to the fact that many of the funds have to be targeted to disadvantaged areas. The second of the three bills passed early Thursday afternoon, with lawmakers jumping right into debate on the final portion of the package. We'll have more news right after this.
The journey of a dream becoming reality. When we're young, a dream develops into a passion. That passion continues to manifest and grows as you do. It becomes all you want to do and all you want to be. It gives you direction. It drives you. Then, your dream has become a reality. When that dream is ready to be reality, Platte Valley Bank will be with you every step of the way.
Life Care promises us that we are looked after and taken care of properly.
If I didn't have Life Care, I would be probably scared to death about having enough money for when I got older or when I got sick.
Moving in here was an easy decision and, in fact, a no-brainer. I looked at it as actually buying long-term care insurance, and in retrospect, a good move.
One of the things that convinces me that we did the right thing is no matter what happens, we will constantly be taken care of.
The whole thing is just vital because you don't have to be worried about what's ahead for you. It's there, it's in black and white, and that's reassuring.
This is home. It has been from the day I moved in.
Welcome back. A Scottsbluff woman is facing a pair of distribution charges following a series of controlled buys conducted by the Wing Drug Task Force last year. 38-year-old Kayla Speece McBride was arrested Tuesday for 2 counts of distribution of methamphetamine on or near a playground, both Class 1D felonies. Investigators say Speece McBride sold methamphetamine to Sea Ice twice in May of 2021 with a total amount of more than 11 grams. She was arraigned on the charges on Wednesday in Scottsbluff County Court with initial bond set at $150,000. Well, Scottsbluff High School is proud to announce that senior Ava Imhoff has been selected as a finalist in the 67th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. About 1.5 million juniors entered the 2022 program, with only approximately 15,000 finalists being named. Winners will be announced in 4 nationwide news releases beginning next month and concluding in July. These scholarship recipients will join more than 362,000 other distinguished young people who have earned the Merit Scholar title. And the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services is reporting higher levels of flu and flu-related cases in Nebraska. The state is experiencing increased positive cases, school absenteeism, hospital visits, and hospitalizations. A total of 13 Nebraskans have died from influenza-associated illness so far this season. As flu activity is currently elevated throughout the state, it is important to remind Nebraskans that the flu vaccine is the best protection against flu-related illnesses. Well, still to come, a look at your ag news, plus your weekend community calendar. KNEB.TV News will be back right after the break.
What a year 2020 was. Now's the time to get out and travel this summer to see family and friends you were not able to see this last year. Spend more time enjoying your trip by flying United Airlines, operated by SkyWest with daily flights to and from Denver. Reserve your flight today and remember United miles can be earned and redeemed with your flights. While at the airport, stop and enjoy authentic Italian food at Roma Italian Restaurant. And don't forget, Thrifty Car Rental is here for your car rental needs. Make life easier, relax, and hitch a ride with your BFF, Western Nebraska Regional Airport.
Welcome to Kelly's, home of the Valley's best selection of wine, spirits, and beer. Whether you're brand loyal to the tried and true brew or really enjoy trying something different and new, Kelly's has something for everyone. Family owned and operated and right on your way on West 27th Street in Scotts Bluff. Kelly's Liquor. If you can't find it at Kelly's, it's not worth drinking.
I really like how our OB department takes our limited amount of doctors and turns it into a strength. Even though we only have a couple of people, you get to know them well over your entire pregnancy. We have 2 state-of-the-art labor rooms that are new with our last addition. We have a couple of very nice postpartum rooms also right here in the hospital, so they can get as much time with mom and baby as possible.
This is KNEB.TV Ag News from the FNBO Ag Desk. FNBO, the great big small bank.
Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield here on the Rural Radio Network. An interesting marketing week already in place. Is the cash underwhelming? Where are we at when it comes to weights? And are we really overrun with numbers? Or are we doing okay? Add to it, the feeder cattle will continue to be on the tighter side. But as we all know, and we've talked about this on this program many times, cow kills will continue to pick up. What does that mean as weather and feed stuff continues to get tighter? Well, it isn't Brad Koima this week. We brought in the A-team. Scott Varlick joins us. He is with Koima, and Varlick out of Sioux Center, Iowa. As we look at these markets today, Scott, and just this whole week, it's been interesting for these cattle. You talked a little bit about cash being underwhelming at this point.
I think we're all just a little disappointed that it's been more of a flat sideways trade with not a lot of action. You know, a bid comes out a 138 or a 140 bid and it doesn't move the needle. It stays at that level with no, okay, it's getting close to spring grilling season, spring rallies, you know, the ability to ask for higher prices just doesn't seem to be, you know, in the producer's favor. So we had a little bit of 140 yesterday. That's a couple dollars higher than last week. And then we have a break in the futures and suddenly there's a little bit of 138 trickling in the south as they can get out of their hedges better. I think that's the way they look at it. The basis gets in their favor. So some of those trades start to happen. So that's why I call it underwhelming, just because I think the opportunity's there, the demand is there. And I don't think the cattle are overrun. So to me, that's a little disappointing. That's as far as we can get, is this 138. And then maybe we get to 140 and then kind of slips back. We've been in this tight little range while futures have been up and down and up and down. The cash is just kind of staying right there with no ability to really take off like I think it should be able to.
Is there some concerns out there, though, about the weights of these cattle as on the feedlot side? Because we have had some decent winter weather for them.
Excellent winter weather would be the word for sure. The gains have been tremendous, as we close out these cattle and see what they can do when they have optimum conditions. So that's really put a lot of weight on them and quicker. Producers are generally, these cattle I'm going to try to sell in the end of March and these in April, and they kind of kept them on track for that. So we had the large carcass weights. We didn't think we'd be anywhere close to last year's weights over the last 6 months, just because the year prior was the COVID and backing up cattle, but we have been higher actually on a lot of these carcass weights. So it was kind of a head scratcher that, wow, these cattle did gain, very well, optimum conditions. But what's happening, I think the shift could start to happen as we see these feed costs get away. We see the corn start to move higher. It is starting to move these cattle ahead. We're a little bit more willing to sell because I don't know what this feed cost is going to do. I know it's high right now. So maybe there's a little bit of incentive to try to pull them off earlier. So hoping that starts to weigh in on some of these carcass weights. Am hearing possibly that some of these cattle that are being shipped are starting to lighten up a little bit, hearing that from the trucker's perspective. So I always like to hear those little nuggets. So I have hopes that we can start to close that gap and get some of this weight off them, because we're about out of the yearlings, the cattle that we were feeding for till spring, and we're going to come up onto a calf crop. And are we going to be willing to try to put extra weight on those calves, or are we going to want to pull them early because feed costs are high and you got a little premium in the cash market compared to what the futures show us in the June or August contracts? So might be some incentive to try to sell them a little bit earlier now.
Really, number wise, though, we're doing pretty good. Kind of kept that steady pace this whole winter.
Yeah, pretty steady pace. We didn't really run into a wall of cattle where we had a lot of producers calling saying, I can't get bids. We were able to keep cattle moving right along. And I think that ties to the big picture. The cow herd being on the decline. We've got the increased cow slaughter. We had the dry conditions, pulled a lot of livestock off the pasture that way as well. We feel like we've shrunk this cow herd enough to where these numbers are going to start to get pretty seriously tight. I really like the long-term outlook on cattle. We saw the record profits from the packers. You guys have talked about that on here several times, I'm sure. I don't know if enough of that money was making it down to the producer sector. We see the input costs rising. Try to find some hay or try to fix a tractor, try to fill it up with fuel. And we're going to need to see some money filter on down to the production sector if we're going to continue to try to raise cattle, to try to turn that around, to try to, hey, I'd like to buy a few more cows and run them on pasture. So if it starts raining this year, the incentive might be there, but we're not sure that it's going to yet. You said it's raining at your place right now, but I think it's going to take a lot more than just a small rain to try to get these pastures back into condition. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm seeing these feeder calf prices have an opportunity to really rally. We're going to add some slaughter capacity in the next couple of years, and we're sitting here with a tight cow herd. I'm trying to buy dips on these feeder calves. You get a day where we have key reversals lower. Some of those, sale barn prices start to drop a little bit. I'm going to have my nose in there and try to look. I think there's an opportunity to be had here.
That's some good advice. Real quick, as we get ready to wrap up, from a consumer perspective, they might hear you talking about cow slaughter numbers being up, which should mean more hamburger opportunities. So hopefully we see a decrease in the price a little bit for them at the grocery store.
Yeah, that's hard to say. I know they've had to kind of change where they're getting their burger from. as far as some of these roasts that they were grinding into some of the hamburger, but that's making a really quality hamburger right there. So when you start grinding some of those roasts into there, but to me, it looks like demand has been outstanding with the prices being at a higher level. So if we have a recession or some very wild outside markets that are really going to kind of impact the way we do business and what we want to buy. And yes, that's the high energy prices that have been we've been seeing. Every meme on Facebook is regarding the high gas prices. So yes, that does cut into the demand a little bit, but the demand has stayed strong. People still want quality. The quality beef programs are still excelling in this market. So that opportunity is still there for good prices to probably stay for the beef producer and for the packing industry. So I don't see a large break coming in the consumer section.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Scott, for joining us this week. And now, as we want to remind folks, I'll get it spit out. Commodity futures and options do involve a substantial risk of loss that aren't suitable for all investors. And that's been this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield on the Rural Radio Network.
Logos in Gearing is the place to get all of your school spirit gear, personalized gifts, and promotional items for your business and employees, and banners for any special event. Logos is also the only place to stop for custom screen printing or embroidery. You can even design it yourself on their interactive website. Stop into Logos today. They'll design it, print it, and have it to you in no time. There's no job too big or small for Logos. That's Logos in Gearing.
Well, let's take a peek at what's happening on your weekend community calendar. The Community Calendar is brought to you by Riverstone Bank. First State Bank is now Riverstone Bank. Community strong with the same people you know and trust.
Find out what convenient really means at the Western Travel Terminal. Start with our great selection of food and drinks, from for real milkshakes and fresh brewed coffee to snacks and hot food. Next, check out our beer and spirits with their everyday low prices. Finally, let us work for you with our full-service gas station and automatic truck and car wash. All this can be found at 822 South Beltline in Scottsbluff. Western Travel Terminal, your convenient shopping, restaurant, and full-service gas leader.
Swipe right, swipe left, endlessly searching. Finding the perfect match isn't always perfect, but it can be when it comes to finances. Nora found the perfect business loan. Jenny opened her first savings account. Grammy loves her checking account. We found a match for Wilson Farms. The Sandersons were matched with a mortgage. Regardless of your financial situation, Platte Valley Bank will match you with the perfect solution. Find your match at Platte Valley Bank.
And finally tonight, Western Nebraska Community College has earned the military-friendly school designation for the 12th consecutive school year. WNCC Military and Veterans Affairs Advisor Michael Milliken says making this list year after year is truly an honor.
For us, it's kind of a way for us to know that we're on the right track, we're doing stuff right, because they have a survey that comes out. That's how this comes about, and they're asking questions, and it makes it where we know that we are, if not just keeping up with people, maybe we're setting the example for the veterans in the area, to show them that we're trying to stay up with whatever else is going on in America for veterans.
However, Milliken says it all starts with keeping a presence locally.
Well, we're reaching out to like the Veteran Service Officer, and we're trying to just basically go wherever we can go that veterans are at, and meet with them, and just get the word out that we're here. And once they're here, we try to make everybody feel comfortable.
The Military Friendly School Survey is the longest running and most comprehensive review of college and university investments in serving military and veteran students. The WNCC Military and Veterans Affairs Office provides academic, career, and financial assistance to qualified veterans at no cost, as well as organized social and cultural activities. The office also hosts the TRIO Veterans Upward Bounds program, which provides further resources for veterans and their families. Well, that does it for us this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.